I'm Silas Havlock. I'm 48, and I've built something most people only fantasize about. For 17 years I poured everything, time, money, obsession into Havlock Tech, my medical technology company here in Nashville. We started as just 2 engineers squeezed into a tiny office above a barbecue joint on Broadway. Now, we're a $10 million operation, and our hospital management software runs in clinics and medical centers across 5 states. People say I'm obsessive. They're not wrong. I've always had one rule: whether I'm wrestling with server architecture or arguing over client contracts, build walls, set up fail-safes, trust systems, not people. And, honestly, it's that same paranoia that kept me from vanishing while I was lying unconscious in a hospital bed. Let's rewind. January 2025, I'm heading home from a late investor meeting in Franklin, about half an hour south of Nashville. Black ice on I-65. My BMW spun out, clipped the median, flipped twice, and landed in a ditch. I woke up with multiple fractures and a smashed head. The doctors knocked me out, induced coma. They called it to keep my brain from swelling. I was out cold from January 10th to April 14th. 3 months, 4 days. While I was gone, my wife Juliet, she's 42, took over as my legal proxy. Power of attorney, access to my office, my files, my company, everything. Instead of protecting what we built, she started tearing it down. If you love stories packed with revenge and twists, hit like and subscribe. There's a new story here every day, each one wilder than the last. Juliet didn't waste time. 2 weeks after my accident, she started shifting all Havlock Tech shares to a shell company, Nashbridge Systems LLC, registered in her name. She forged paperwork. She declared me permanently incapacitated. She told my execs she was just keeping the business alive, doing what I would have wanted. Meanwhile, she was meeting with outside investors I'd never even heard of, chopping up the company behind closed doors. To friends and family, she put on a show: black clothes at the hospital, somber Facebook posts about staying strong and honoring Silas's legacy. The truth: it was greed. Ruthless, calculated greed. And she figured I'd never wake up to stop her. But here's the thing: I saw it coming. Not the coma, not the crash, but Juliet's betrayal. For months, she'd been off. She started poking around about our succession plan, pushing me to sign new prenup agreements I refused. She'd whisper to strangers about our revenue streams and client lists. I even caught her in my home office, low-voiced on the phone, talking about liquidating assets to someone she claimed was a financial advisor. I didn't call her out, didn't make a scene. I did what I always do: built a wall. I called my lawyer, Marshall Graves. He's been with me since day one, a guy who only speaks when it matters, and when he does, everyone shuts up and listens. I told him everything. I need protection, I said, not from competitors, from my own wife. Marshall just nodded. Let's make sure she can't touch anything without setting off every alarm in the building. We rewrote the company we hid an automatic nullification and asset freeze clause deep in the paperwork, not just in the bylaws, but also in our bank contracts and investment accounts. It was simple, but ironclad. If anyone tried to transfer shares without me physically present and a doctor's note proving I was of sound mind, the whole system would freeze. Its shares, assets, bank accounts all locked up. Any unauthorized move would get reversed, and a forensic audit would start automatically. No extra approval, no loopholes, just a tripwire buried deep. And Juliet never knew it was there. I also made Marshall keep watch for any weird filings while I was out. If anything tripped the system, he didn't need my say-so, he just acted. I handed him a sealed envelope with instructions. He locked it in his safe. I hope we never have to open this, he said. 3 months later, he opened it, while I was in that coma, while Juliet was moving money, signing papers, and planning her new life. The clause triggered. Every single share transfer she tried, instantly voided. Every account Juliet touched froze solid. The forensic auditors swooped in, grabbing records, tracing every wire transfer, lining up all the forged signatures and fake documents. Meanwhile, Juliet cruised along clueless. She thought she was on top. When I finally woke up, first thing I did after the doctors cleared me to use a phone was call Marshall. My voice was shot, raw from the tube, but I managed to croak out, "How bad is it?" He sounded calm, almost like he found it funny. "She dug the grave. Silas, all she needs now is the shovel." Marshall showed up at Vanderbilt 2 days later. He came in with his old leather briefcase and dropped a thick folder on my bed. "This is everything she pulled while you were under," he said. I flipped it open. Pages and pages, bank statements, forged docs, emails with some broker in Atlanta about selling assets, texts where she called me the obstacle, wire transfers out to the Caymans, meetings with VC firms where she pretended she owned it all. "How much did she move?" I asked. "She tried to move everything. 10 million in company value, another 2 million in cash. She even tried to refinance the Brentwood house and open a credit line using the company as collateral. Tried every transaction, got reversed the second it hit the system." Marshall grinned. The clause worked perfectly. She never saw it coming. Banks don't notify right away. She kept going, signing things, setting up her exit. By the time the auditors caught it, she'd already sunk herself a dozen times over. I leaned back, head pounding. But honestly, all I felt was this cold certainty. Yeah, I'd been right to plan ahead. What's next? I asked. Emergency hearing. Davidson County Chancery Court, Thursday, 3 days from now. Juliet thinks it's nothing. She has no clue what's waiting for her. I wanted to be there. Silas, you just woke up from a 3-month coma. I didn't care. I wanted to be there. Marshall watched me, then nodded. I'll make it happen. The hearing was at 10 sharp. I checked myself out of the hospital. Against every bit of medical advice. I'd dropped 20 pounds, needed a cane just to stand, but my head was clear. Marshall picked me up and we drove through downtown Nashville, past Broadway, past the Batman building to the courthouse on Charlotte Avenue. Cool April morning. The spring finally showing up. The courtroom was almost empty. Just Marshall, me, the judge, a court reporter, and Juliet's lawyer, Preston Whitmore, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Juliet blew in 15 minutes late. She wore an expensive black suit, hair perfect, makeup flawless, playing the grieving wife. Then she saw me. Her face went sheet white. She just stopped, grabbed a bench to steady herself. Her lawyer whispered something, but she didn't even blink. Just stared. I didn't smile. Just watched her, made sure she understood I know everything. And right then, whatever we'd had, whatever I thought we'd built, it was gone. Not love, not hate. Just this cold, sharp recognition of what she'd become. She sat. Her hands trembled. Judge Sandra Calloway called it to order. Marshall laid out the case. Mine forgeries. Audit results. Every fake transaction. Every lie. The judge read in silence. You could hear Juliet's shallow breathing from 3 rows back. Finally, Judge Calloway looked up. Mrs. Havlock, do you have anything to say? Juliet's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client acted in good faith under extreme distress. She thought she was protecting the business. Any irregularities were unintentional. Unintentional. The judge held up the evidence: fake signatures, a made-up doctor's note, a $200,000 transfer to the Caymans, all unintentional. Whitmore had nothing. Mrs. Havlock, did you knowingly transfer assets from Havlock Tech to a company under your control while your husband was in a coma? Juliet stood, barely above a whisper. I was trying to save the company. That's not what I asked. Juliet glanced at me, then back. Yes, I did. The judge nodded. Then I'm issuing an immediate injunction. All assets moved during Mr. Havlock's incapacitation are nullified. All Nashbridge Systems LLC accounts are frozen for further investigation. I'm authorizing immediate communication to First Horizon Bank, Regions Bank, and every financial institution involved. Mrs. Havlock, you're barred from touching any accounts, properties, or assets you hold with Mr. Havlock until this is resolved. She paused. I'm also referring this case to the Davidson County District Attorney for criminal review. Hearing adjourned. The gavel fell. Juliet just stood there, frozen. Whitmore leaned in, whispered something to her, and basically dragged her out of the courtroom. She never looked back at me, not once. I didn't expect her to. Marshall and I stepped outside into the sharp April sunlight. I gripped my cane, worn out but steady. That went well, Marshall said. It's not over, I told him. He nodded. No, but it's a good start. The weeks that followed blurred together: recovery, rehab, trying to piece things back together. I left the Brentwood house behind and moved into a furnished apartment in Green Hills. The legal battles kept rolling. Doctors wanted me in physical therapy 3 times a week. My balance sucked. The headaches came out of nowhere, but I kept pushing. There was too much to do. Marshall called with updates on Juliet. She went after our frozen joint account, found herself locked out of the house, and called her mom in Florida, saying I was punishing her. Her mom told her to get a better lawyer. She burned through 3 of them in 2 weeks. Each one took a look at the evidence and either quit or told her to take Marshall's settlement offer. The paper trail was airtight. Then, in early May, Juliet filed a countermotion. She claimed duress and emotional abuse, said I'd manipulated her for years. She wrote up an affidavit full of accusations. Marshall tore it apart in a week. He found phone records showing us talking like normal. Friends backed me up, saying our marriage looked fine. There were the emails to her sister. 8 months before the accident, she bragged about our Cabo trip, posted smiling beach photos on Instagram, and sent texts saying, if anything ever happens to Silas, I'll finally be free. The judge called her move transparent and threatened sanctions if she kept it up. While all this was happening, I threw myself into work. Diane Kirkpatar, my Q, refused to help Juliet with her takeover scheme and quietly reassured our clients. We didn't lose a single contract. By mid-May, I called everyone together, about 40 employees. They looked tense, waiting for bad news. I stood at the front, still leaning on my cane. I know the last few months have been confusing. I started, so let's be clear. Juliet tried to take over. She made fraudulent transfers. Our legal safeguards worked. The company is safe. Your jobs are safe. We're moving forward. I built this place to survive the worst, and we just did. Now let's show everyone what we can do. The applause started slow, but it grew. Diane stood up first, then everyone else. Relief, not celebration. By June, Juliet was out of options. The DA opened a criminal investigation: forgery, fraud, identity theft, abuse of power of attorney. Her fourth lawyer told her to cut a deal. Marshall called. She wants to settle full confession, return the assets, restraining order. She's asking us to recommend leniency to the DA. Part of me wanted her to face trial, but mostly I just wanted it finished. I wanted my life back. What do you think? I asked. She's done either way. The DA will act on the evidence, not our opinion. Settling means you get everything back. No loose ends. Let's do it. We signed the settlement in July. Juliet admitted everything, gave up all claims to Havlock Tech and the shared properties. She paid $150,000 for legal fees and other costs. The restraining order was permanent. She couldn't contact me or come near any Havlock Tech property. The DA pressed on with the charges. In August, Juliet pleaded no contest to 3 counts of fraud and 1 of forgery. 18 months in prison, possible parole after 9, 3 years probation. She got blacklisted from future business dealings. I didn't show up at her sentencing. I wasn't after revenge. This was just where her choices led. Meanwhile, Havlock Tech was stronger than ever. People talked about our security measures. CEOs from other companies called to ask how we'd protected ourselves. We got a reputation for rock-solid governance, our cybersecurity and AI-powered hospital data protection. Big selling points. 3 new hospital systems signed up between May and August. Revenue shot up from a projected $12 million to over $22 million. We hired 15 new people, broke into Kentucky and Arkansas. The company I almost lost was thriving. In September, I sold the Brentwood house. Too many ghosts there. Bought a modern place in Franklin. Big windows looking out over the woods. Time for a fresh start. Diane took over as president of operations, and Marshall stayed on as general counsel. I kept building systems, solutions, whatever the problem needed. Made sure every part fit, no loose ends. People ask if I'm bitter about Juliet. Nope, bitterness comes from being blindsided. I saw it coming, braced myself, set things in motion before she ever made her move. Juliet never understood. I don't do things halfway. Not companies, not systems, not protecting what's mine. When I sign up, I go Ellen. Surviving what happened changes your outlook. Not in some grand, movie-ending way, just quieter. You start noticing the small stuff. Little tells, offhand comments. When someone's words don't match what they're actually doing. By October 2025. Months after the dust settled, life found its own rhythm again. I worked full days. Thursdays were for physical therapy. Headaches faded, weight came back, body almost back to normal. Mind sharper than I can remember. Havlock Tech kept rolling. Just landed a 7-figure deal with a hospital network in Memphis. 3 years locked in. Diane hired Robert Torres as VP of Client Relations. Poached him from a rival. He brought 2 big accounts with him. We hit 65 employees. Started looking at bigger office space near Vanderbilt. I started speaking at conferences, corporate security, governance, stuff like that. Never talked about the personal side. That was private. My focus was helping companies guard against what I went through. Turns out, a lot of CEOs carry that same worry. They just don't say it out loud. At a conference in Atlanta, a biotech founder from Durham came up to me. His partner was acting off, asking weird financial questions, pushing unsigned documents. What should I do? I handed him Marshall's card. Call him, tell him I sent you. Don't wait. He hesitated. You really think it's that bad? If you're asking, you already know. He called Marshall the next day. Within 2 weeks, they rewrote the bylaws, put protections in place. 3 months later, his partner tried a hostile takeover with forged documents. The safeguards kicked in, just like mine. Later, he emailed me thank you. I'd hear about Juliet now and then. Nashville's a big city, but the business world's a small pond. Word gets around. She's serving time at Tennessee prison for women. Parole's possible next. May people say she plans to leave for Atlanta, can't face Nashville, not after what she did. Every financial blacklist has her name now. No loans, no investors, no meetings. Every bridge burned. I don't feel sorry for her, but I don't gloat either. These are just the consequences. You take what isn't yours, it catches up. Last month I spoke at the Tennessee Medical Technology Summit in Knoxville. Big crowd, hospital admins, insurance execs, tech folks. I talked about data security and hospital management systems. After my talk, Patricia Drummond from Regional Medical Center came over. She said, Mr. Havlock, I've been following your work. What you've built is impressive, not just the software, but the way you've structured your business. They'd had internal security issues. She thought my approach was exactly what they needed. We talked 20 minutes. By the end, she'd booked a meeting with Diane for the next week. That turned into a $2.3 million contract. Walking to my car that night, I thought about how strange life is. Less than a year ago, I was in a coma while someone I trusted tried to destroy everything I'd built. Now, closing deals, expanding, helping others protect themselves from what happened to me, the coma, the betrayal, the legal mess. It was all awful, but it clarified things. It showed me what I'm made of, how strong my foundations really are. I learned the best revenge isn't dramatic, it's just surviving. Refusing to give in, Juliet tried to erase me. Instead, she erased herself. That night, I drove to Franklin. Big windows, quiet woods, made a simple dinner, ate outside while the sun set through the trees. Cool air, everything still. For the first time in a long while, I felt peaceful. Not because I'd won, not because I'd proved anything, but because I'd protected what mattered, to build something that could take a hit and still stand. Trusted my gut, prepared for the worst, and was right. People ask if I'll ever remarry, if I'll trust again, maybe, but not blindly, not without safeguards, not without watching for the signs. Trust matters, but so does checking the locks. If I've learned anything, it's this: the best defense isn't paranoia, it's preparation. Build systems that work when people don't. Hope isn't a plan, and good intentions aren't enough. Juliet saw my coma as her chance, thought I was helpless. What she didn't know, I'd already stopped her months before, built walls she never noticed, set traps she couldn't avoid. When she finally made her move, she walked right into them. She thought I was out cold. Truth is, I was just biding my time, keeping an eye on things, letting the system run exactly the way I'd set it up. Fast forward to today, Havlock Tech has 72 people on the payroll, spread across 8 states. We're on track to hit $30 million in revenue by 2026 around here. People call us one of the most secure, well-run medtech companies in the Southeast. Every deal we sign has the safeguards that kept my company afloat in the first place. Now, when I walk through the office, I catch developers deep in code, sales teams landing deals, Diane running operations with that trademark fire, and I just know whatever comes, whoever tries to mess with what we've built, this place is going to stand. I didn't just launch a business, I built a fortress, and honestly, the walls are tougher than anyone thinks. If you liked this story, hit like and drop a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do it. Don't forget to tap the bell so you don't miss the next story. Thanks for watching. See you soon.